Hey everyone, this is Krista with Divine Chaos, and I am here today with Gail. I don't know your last name, Gail.
Grubczynski, that's why
right.
You don't know it.
That's
yes.
right. And I'm super excited to have her with me today because I met her at the women's networking meeting, and I know you've heard me talk about it before. And I'm going around the room and I'm introducing myself to people, and I get to Gail, and she was like the first one that I was like, oh girl, we could have a conversation. And we started to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we returned to my seat, and then here comes the guest speaker of the day, and it's Gail. And I was like, oh, no way. So I had to ask her to be upon, the podcast. And I'm super excited that you're here and get to be a part of this. So Gail, tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm here in Panama, but I also live in Chicago, and I've been in Chicago I was doing the math, like 30 some years now. I'm originally from Detroit. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I have my doctorate in education. I did my research on emotional intelligence. I have a private practice, and then I also have a company that we connect fragrances to help navigate through mental health. So helping people tapping into the olfactory system and moving them forward with that.
Yeah.
So I'm very passionate about it. I feel very fortunate that people come to me and share really intimate things. It's an honor. And then it's an honor to help navigate through with them to go to where they want to get to.
I love that. And that's like there was so much that you just said that I resonate with. One being from Chicago.
Yes.
Chicagoan. And then, like the emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
I've been on this journey, this healing journey for about 15 years now.
Okay.
I started when I hit 30. It started off with the physical healing though.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you've seen that within your own practice.
Absolutely.
There's the different types of healing. And because I remember you were saying, because that's one of the things that I resonated with was the peeling of the onion.
Yes.
It's not exactly like, oh yeah, I'm okay, I'm good, I just did that work, and it's like, that's not how it works.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm just saying, it's one layer at a time.
Yes.
So it started off with the physical aspect, because I turned the mirror on myself, and I wanted to know what I was doing to my own self to create such havoc in my body. And I started reading labels, and then
good for you.
I didn't have a choice. I was following my parents' footsteps, who were both dead, and it was like, if I keep going this, my kid's only 7. No, he was younger because he was 7 when I started studying Ayurveda. So it was just like, shit's got to change.
Yeah, good for you. A lot of people don't make that change though, so good for you.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll accept it.
Yeah.
It's something new for me, So anyway, that was the beginning, and then doing my own stuff. It can only take you so far. That is the big thing that I've always learned is like, you can do all the self-study and everything along those lines.
Sure.
But it can only take you so far.
Yeah.
And then if you want to go to the next level, you're going to need that help.
Yeah.
And that's where I like to stress, like people like you and I, who are trained professionals in whatever it is who's seeking.
Yeah.
Just reach out.
Yeah.
They'll take you to that next level in your healing. We may not be your fix-all,
Sure.
but we'll definitely take you through that next step. Or we'll let you know if it's not. Right.
Well, the one thing I tell everyone is I don't have a magic wand, though.
Right.
So it's about a partnership, and you have to do the work too. Because a lot of people are like, "Well, I'm still feeling bad." I'm like, "But what have you implemented since we've talked?" And they're like, "Well," I'm like, "You got to do the work too. It's not." So it is difficult, and I think in general, a lot of people are more comfortable dealing with the physical than the mental. Because it's easier to see the changes, that kind of stuff. And so a lot of times it does represent itself in the physical. And then I'm like, okay, but it's connected to up here. And they're like, how would that happen? I'm like, well, we're a whole body. It's all connected.
Yeah.
And we really kind of leave out this part. We'll deal with this, but leave out this.
Yeah.
And I think we're starting to slowly understand the mental health is not
separate.
Right, it's not you're crazy. It's we live in a crazy world. I mean, there's so much going on, and so it's hard to navigate. And so having someone to bounce ideas or to share and try to further develop coping skills or mechanisms is a great thing. It's not being crazy at all.
Right.
Or
is it selfish? Or is it, there's so many things that I know that I grew up, like, I grew up, you can't ask for help, otherwise it shows weakness. Like those conditioning.
It's called being smart, asking for help, because we are not islands unto our own. Yeah.
I didn't truly learn the meaning of asking for help until I lived in Costa Rica. My whole world was shutting down, and a lot of this help kept coming at me. Wow. And I was like, my practice wasn't taking off as I thought it would.
Okay.
I kept hitting brick walls in Costa Rica, and I would be struggling to get my next meal. Like, I'd be just finishing up my food, and I start to worry, like, oh my gosh, where is it coming from? But then all of a sudden, my neighbor would come down the street with a whole armful of fruits and veggies from their farm, and I'm like, holy shit, it was just dumbfounded, and then even moving here, like, I had 2 Colombian neighbors who they reminded me she even said it to the T, you need to receive. And I was like, that's so hard for me. But it kind of ties back to what you were saying, like the healing as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know when I was in the physical level, and the physical level of healing, I guess you could say, I didn't know anything about the mental aspect of it. Yeah. I didn't know that it was even a challenge. Yeah. And that's where I run into issues with my clients. It's like they don't even know that they're struggling until they actually have a session with me, and they're like, holy crap. And I'm like, I know, and but so it wasn't until 10 years later that my mental journey began.
Good for you, though.
Yeah.
Some people never approach it because it is too hard.
I didn't have a choice. It was the divorce. I had to leave my ex. And then I wanted to know how I ended up in that situation. And because I was like, that shouldn't have happened. I'm not going to should on myself. But in my mind, it should not have happened. It was just like, where did it come from? Same thing with my physical diagnosis. Like, where the hell did this come from? It came out of nowhere. Yeah. And the same thing with the ending of my marriage. And I was like, I need to figure out, I'm one of those. I need to figure out where this came from so I can make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's smart. That's how you're supposed to do that. Good for you. I know you say you didn't have a choice, but there's a lot of people that choose to bury their head and just to keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. So know that there's strength and perseverance, and you need to celebrate that in yourself.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Here, I'll cheer you to that. Cheers.
Yes, salud.
Salud.
The other thing that I think I heard you say, though, is it was really difficult to receive, to have people help you. And a lot of times that's ego.
Oh, yeah. I learned that in Costa Rica.
Yeah. Ego is usually not your friend. We really have to challenge our ego and really okay, wait a minute. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I need some help. Yeah. We can't know everything. Nobody knows everything. Right. And so we need to ask for help. Now, if you're asking for help for everything and you don't want to do any work, then there's where your challenge is. But we need to ask for help. And when you ask the right people, you feel it. You know that it's authentic, it's in a good place, and you can move forward and honor that. Yeah. And when you take it and use it, it's honoring the person that gave it to you. Mm-hmm. And
that's what helped me be able to start receiving more, because people would tell me, Christa, I want to do this for you. Yeah. And and I'm like, who am I to steal your thunder? So that's one of those things that I read some ego books, and I didn't realize that it had anything to do with not asking for help until, like I was saying, in Costa Rica, where this phrase came across me, maybe it'll help you too, is like the ego comes along and it's like, hey, I'm too good, I already know everything. It's the pride factor. Yeah. The pride is what is stepping in the way from allowing you from asking for help. And I never looked at it like that because this is a condition that I had. So it was, for me, I thought it was just something that I was taught, you know, but I could see how it had developed.
Yeah.
You know, it stemmed from there, but I kept it rolling. You know, so I was like, I'm still acting like my damn parents, you know, so I had to stop. I was like, that's it, Christa. Receive.
Right. Well, again, people see it as a weakness, and understanding when you need assistance is a strength. That is not a weakness. It's a strength to say, okay, I've got myself to here. Okay, now I got to figure out I need some assistance. That is strength, understanding where you need some assistance.
Yeah.
There's no weakness in that. That's strength. We are not islands unto ourselves. We need people to assist us. As human beings, we're gregarious people. We need to interact, at least to some level. We need to have assistance to some level. And so that is a strength and not a weakness.
Yeah, I love that because one of the things that they talk about in like old school days and like in the other countries, not in the U.S., right, is everything was very community based.
Yes.
And it was so interesting. I just did a meditation, a guided journey meditation the other day. It was a 3-part kind of thing. Like it was like what my ancestors wanted to share with me and to remind me of.
Wow.
So the first one was to remind me of. It was like. It made me think of Wonder Woman, you know, and I did this dance. I had to do this dance in Costa Rica, you know. I was like, the bear, you know, the stick goes into the ground. Because I once had a medium say Christa. And she started off her reading as if like, here she comes. She puts her thing in the ground. And I was like, whoa, are you reading me? You know,
I
she's
love
like,
it.
yeah. And I was like, oh, can I record this? Because I thought I don't know what you were doing. But I didn't know you were talking about me, you know, because this was right before. Right as I left my husband.
Wow.
So it was very dark those days. Sure. And so I did this pose though in Costa Rica where my stick was in the ground and, you know, I was standing tall and firm, but that was that first image. And what came to my mind was you're fierce, you know, and you are the protector. You are the, you know, like you are an authority, you know, which is something that I have been questioning because of all those traumas, right?
Yes.
Like you forget who you are.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I really loved this exercise because it was validation, you know? And then the second was to remember that all I saw was a ball of light. And I was like, okay, what is this? I don't know what this is. And I'm like, oh, maybe you're telling me I am the light, you know? And then the next scene was the tribe. And then it was just like a whole community. We're all working together kind of thing, you know. But then here comes somebody out from the woods, not looking the best, you know, but they were feeling not the best. And they came to the light, who was, you know, the one that made them feel safe.
Yeah.
And protected. And they needed help, you know. And I brought them in. And then that's how my community grew.
Yeah.
And it was just all like, so what are you saying? I need to start my membership?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's exactly what that's what I took away from it.
Yeah.
But it was a good reminder, you know. But it's those type of environments where they naturally leaned on each other.
Yeah.
You know. And then I talk about this with the menopause too, like with the women's cycles, because women's cycles, the U.S. has fallen so far off track, you know, like the woman has lost contact with themselves, you know. In other countries, the women would go out at that time of the month into the woods and they would nurture each other. They would brush each other's hair, they would take care of each other during their monthly cycle. And there's no way in hell you would see that in our society.
No, you act like it's not even there.
Right.
People don't even want to hear about it. Right? Yeah. Women do everything they can to avoid it. Yeah. And it's such a beautiful thing. If we give life, I mean, we should celebrate that. That is a phenomenal thing.
And it's sad that we've lost that connection.
Absolutely.
You know?
But I think your idea and your concepts are absolutely on point regarding we need community, and community has been something that has been historical, and in the United States specifically, you know, individualism has been embraced, and it's this whole thing of like getting over on somebody or being better than them, and you know, I'm number one and whatever you are,
right?
And and it's so unhealthy, and it brings people down and tears people down, and it just I hope that as we continue to talk and there's new ideas coming out, that people start to embrace this and understand that community is critically important, and we need that for not just our mental, our physical, but for our success in life. Like when we think
as a
about
whole, and is the human species.
Yes,
you know?
Absolutely. We're gregarious entities. We need people.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we need them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. See, this is what I'm saying. We're gonna yeah. All right. So another thing that I think was interesting is who you work with. Because I always want to be like, so who's your favorite team?
The one that pays me.
And I love that response. So do you want to share with the community?
So I have worked for many years with the NFL. I was the first woman to ever be hired by the NFL, the National Football League, as a mental health clinician. And so I worked with the Chicago Bears exclusively for about 11 years. Then I was released, a new coach, and didn't want a woman, and I'm not changing. So
may I ask what was I would say the era. Like my grandmother, like she purposely moved to Lake Forest so she could be right down the street from where they practice.
Yes, they do. So Lovey Smith was the coach that brought me in, and Lovey Smith and I are still very good friends. A wonderful man, very insightful, and understood the need that was happening, and understood the need that it's more than just like grin and bear it, kind of like there's other things going on with these gentlemen, and so let's bring someone that's able to navigate that. So I was brought in under him.
How did he find you? Like, how would I find a job like that? You know what I mean?
Well, it really came from a weird place. So
that's how it always works.
It is. So I was actually doing consulting in New York for Rikers Island, the jail. And I was doing some consulting there with mental health and HIV and AIDS within the facility. I ended up going to a house party, not in Rikers Island, outside of Rikers Island, and I bumped into a man that we were talking, and he asked me what I was doing there in New York, because I was living in Chicago at that time, and I was flying back and forth. And I just said consulting, because you talk about Rikers Island, people are like, ooh, and
I don't even know what it is.
Oh, it's a jail. It's a very large
you
jail.
mentioned that.
And so he kept like, oh, you're so mysterious, and I'm like, I'm not trying to be mysterious. I said, so I'm doing consulting in Rikers Island, and he said, huh. If you could work with the people in Rikers Island, you could work with the NFL.
Yeah, nice.
So I interviewed with the NFL as the entity, and was going to work in New York, but they were willing to pay very low and wanted me on call 24 hours, 7 days a week. And if you know, New York costs a lot, and they were offering very low pay. And I said, absolutely not. Unless you buy me a condo in Manhattan, I can't take that. And they said no, and I said, I'm just going to let you know, for that money you're going to get a fan, because the work, you're talking 24/7, and you're saying $90,000. That's ridiculous. So I went back to Chicago, and they just shared.
And that's a Chicago, like Chicago isn't like a cheap place to live either.
No, but that was New York City we were talking about, that they wanted me to live and move to New York City. So I went back to Chicago. They shared my contact with Chicago, and I interviewed with them, and they said, absolutely, come on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it worked.
I got it.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, so I haven't worked exclusively with any team for a while, but I have a number of players, both active and retired players, that I work with on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And a lot of the NFL players know players in other industries, like in the NBA, that are soccer players, so I get referrals for them. So most of my clients are from the NFL, but I do have other NBA players and players in soccer and the WNBA. I have a couple women as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. I always find that fascinating. I once, like, the person that actually kicked off the whole holistic theme for me I had Bell's palsy, and I happened to watch The Secret,
Yes.
by Rhonda Byrne.
Yeah.
It was my first time going. I thought I was turning on a cool movie on Netflix. It sounded really cool.
Yeah.
And while I waited for my turn with this massage therapist, and she was a sports therapist who worked
yeah.
with the sports teams
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered, like, how do you even land a job like that?
Yeah. They're pretty incestual. You got to know each other and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But
Well,
it just
hook me up, girl.
Yeah,
'Cause I
it was
would love,
interesting.
I need some hookup. I'm just saying. I need some hookup.
No, I've had a couple hockey players. They're always interesting to me because they're so young and they'll come in and take their teeth out. I'm like, look at you.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the sport that happens pretty regularly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think of like how young he is, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I guess that's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Ooh.
yeah. But,
I bet that's a sight for sore eyes.
but people ask, why do they need help? They're human. They have the same kind of challenges that everybody else has, and just because you have money doesn't mean problems go away.
No.
Sometimes they actually get intensified.
And that's what I learned in my marriage.
Yeah.
It was like I never realized who he was when we first got together until the money started really flowing.
Yeah.
Until the alcohol really started flowing,
Yeah.
And I was like, holy hell, we didn't recognize him anymore.
Yeah. That's
because
a shame.
It turned him into somebody else, know. But now, like, when you're going through that healing process, you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I had all those signs.
Yes. Yeah.
If only somebody were to teach me.
Well, even if you were told at that time, you probably couldn't have seen it.
Or I am the type of person that was like, oh my gosh, I did have warning once. I was 18, and it was right after my mom died. Mm-hmm. She introduced me to this little medium or whatever, and I went to the medium, and I was like, oh my God, are Clay and I going to be together forever? Stupid, right? Like, you're ever childish kind of thing. And she's like, no. And I was like, what do you mean?
She's a fraud.
No, I was like, what do you mean? She's like, not everybody's meant to be together forever. And I was like, well, I'll prove you wrong. Yeah,
It
23
happens.
years later.
Yeah.
I was like,
Well,
damn.
18 and 19, those ages, we're still becoming who we are.
We're developing.
Yeah, I tell people, and I know that this doesn't work well for having children, but I'm like, wait till you're 30 to get married, that you started to already come into who you are and explored a little bit of yourself. Your brain is fully developed and all of that because you're such a different person.
And you know what's interesting is my kid, I willed him into this world. He was my first manifestation.
Okay.
Like I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to test this shit out, right? And it actually went down to the T, and here I am, blessed with a mini me. And he feels that exact same way. He's only 21 now. I had to stop and think myself because he's still my baby, right?
Yeah.
And
He'll always be your baby.
I know. It was his birthday, his last birthday, and I was like, oh, how does it feel to be in your last year in your teens? He's like, Mom, I'm 21. And I was like, oh shit.
I gotta do the math.
I'm like, my bad, but hey, happy birthday, but he feels that exact same way. He's like, Mom, first he won't ever drink. And I was like, well, that's good.
Absolutely.
He's seen some pretty shitty shit, and I can understand why you would choose that.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, Mom, it's a depressant. Why would I want to make myself feel that way? And I was like, God, you're so smart.
Yeah.
I wish I had you in me when I was a kid. He's got the boundaries. He's like, I don't want to have kids until at least I'm in my 30s, because then I'll already be established, just like you said, I'm already, and I'm like, man.
Yeah, you did a good job. That's you though. That's you helping to navigate that.
I appreciate you saying that. I really
absolutely.
do. I look at it as, damn, you're smart.
That's because he's got smart parents.
Parent. We must say parent. Yeah, because he's still learning from his dad, but he's learning what not to do. know, and who not to be.
Everybody has something to offer to us, whether
Yeah.
it's to do something or like, oh, I'm going to learn not to do that. That's
Yeah.
a bad decision.
Yeah.
So that's
And
good
then
to do
as
that.
mom, you know, like that's been my big lesson is like, it's not a lesson, but it's my practice. It's like, okay, Krista, you need to step back. This isn't your journey. This is his journey.
Yeah.
He needs to experience it, not you. You've
Yeah.
already done it. And then I find out through a medium, he signed up for the same damn life that I signed up for. You know, like that's how a lot of people think. And like we have a soul contract when we come here and things like that.
Wow.
He signed up for the same damn thing that I signed up for. So I immediately reach out to him and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Why would
Mom,
you do this
I
to
know what I'm
yourself?
doing.
No, he doesn't know, you know, because he's only 21
Yeah.
and I'm twice his age now,
Yes.
you know. So I'm like, Zayden, let me continue guiding you through. You know, you can take it or leave it.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
do
fair.
as you feel. And I always ask his permission, you know, like
It's nice. Good.
you learn, right?
Yeah,
You learn.
yeah. Oh.
I had this stepdaughter so I was immediately married she was 3 when I got married.
Oh, wow.
So, like instant family, right?
Yeah.
I fucked up big time with her. I was totally my mom all over the place. I was the controlling. I was, you know, mask galore. You know, we're heavy. I'm just doing what we're supposed to be doing, and I didn't realize until it was he came around and he was really young, and I was yelling at him for something stupid. I don't know, but all of a sudden it hit me in the head like, Krista, this isn't even you.
Yeah.
Where is this coming from?
Right.
You know, and I was like, holy shit, you know, and then the shift started,
Yeah.
you know, because I was like, you are your mom right now.
Yeah.
And that's exactly who you said you didn't want to be.
Well,
you know?
I mean, we lean into what we know, and it's not even a purposeful thought. We kind of lean into it. But if you become self-aware, you pause and like, okay, is this who I want to be?
Yeah.
And no. But parents do the best, most parents do the best they can. And perfection is not the goal. It's to learn. So when you do make a mistake, when you're with your kids, you could say, ooh, mommy made a mistake. Let me change this. And so that they get to see that perfection is
Isn't
not the
real.
goal, and that they can make a mistake and then fix it and
Yeah.
move on from there. And that's the best life lesson for them to have.
He tells me to this day now, you know, like, 'cause it was actually more towards the divorce, you know, like where we really got a deeper relationship and everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, Mom, you are the most inspirational person to me. And I was like,
Oh, that's beautiful.
are you just saying that because I'm your mom? He's like, you know. And he's like, no. He's like, because he knows my marriage. He knows what I left behind. You know, I left a very comfortable life. And I just, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
You know, in order to make it better.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of those that's always looking for a solution or a better way. Or I don't like to sit in it, dwell in it. And if I do, it's only for a few minutes.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's important. You know, you must process, you know, but don't stay there.
Well, yeah, you have to do self-reflection and process, but then keep moving, because then you just get stuck. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yes.
I have no idea where we were. This is what I wanted to ask you that day. I think you're through it all, right? Even though you never really are.
Never.
Right. Remember how I asked you about my landlord?
Yes.
It had let me know because he reminds me of my ex.
Ah.
Right. So
Yes.
you see where I'm going with this.
Yes.
There's still some unresolved issues there.
Sure.
What is something that you would recommend somebody that can do on their own to work through the freaking stuff that's still clinging in there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Things to do for yourself is journaling, and you know, whether you just want a free flow online, there's so many journal prompts that you could utilize that
You know
are
who
specific.
I love? Chat will give you a
Okay.
whole bunch.
Yeah. Oh, 100 million.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, if you don't want to just do that on your own, you could get prompts. So, I have clients that don't like to write, so they do little podcasts, but they do it for themselves. They don't put it for public consumption. It's for them to get it out of them. That's another thing. meditation is so critically important, and there's not a right or wrong way. Like people are like, like just taking time. And I tell people, breathe and follow your breath through your body, and breathe it out through your mouth. Bring it in through your nose, hold it, and breathe out through your mouth, and just feeling it, and will calm you down. And so recognizing that. Self-affirmations are so important. I wake up every morning and I say 3 positive things about my environment, about myself, or something, just to start my day in a good place. I don't take notes, I just say it for myself. Then the middle of the day, I do 3 additional affirmations. At the end of the day, I reflect on 3 positive things that happen. And they're not earth-shattering. That little boy opened the door for me. How lovely was it that he did that?
Yeah.
Like simple things, because we are so quick to focus on the negative.
Yeah.
And like, oh, but this didn't work, and this didn't work, and this didn't work. Well, things happen.
Yeah.
Shit happens. But you could even take a bad situation and like, but you know what? I figured out how to navigate it. So it's all good. Yeah, it sucked that happened, but you know what? I was able to navigate through it, and it's all good.
Yeah.
So just constantly trying to reframe things in a positive way. Not like you have to skip down the street and think everything is great, but we tend to focus on the negative, and that
Our
stays
brain
with
is triggered
us.
to do
Yes,
that. That's the purpose of it.
Yes, absolutely.
And that sucks.
Well, and we have to fight ourselves.
Yeah.
Our self-talk.
The train.
Yes.
The training.
Our self-talk. We can hype ourselves up into something or bring ourselves down. The people around us. There's people like, did you see what they did? And you're like, yeah, woo, woo. And then they could keep you going. Or you have people like, yeah, don't worry about it. Let's focus on this. So thinking about who you're putting around you. One of the challenge.
I got to interrupt that real
Yes.
fast. When I was going through my divorce, I created a special playlist. And one of the clips is old school. It's super old school. It was Tony Robbins. That was the whole era where I had manifested my kid, right?
Yes.
And he used to have this thing on the tapes where he's like, you lay down with dogs and you're going to wake up with fleas.
100%.
So I would play that little clip in that playlist.
Yeah.
Because I was not just leaving my ex. 2 weeks later, I left my best friend. She was a female version of my ex, I just learned. And then the whole scene that I was in, I was saying goodbye to, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, this was my, you stay where you need to go.
Yeah.
You know, you stay focused. Don't go back.
And one of the ways to help you with that is I tell people, create a positive mantra for themselves so that when they're struggling, throw that mantra in. You got this. You're stronger than you know. You got this. You're stronger than you know. Right? You just got to do that so that it's a quick and easy thing, because sometimes the universe will challenge you.
Oh, yeah.
And
you need to expect the challenge, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at that. You have to expect that challenge the moment you set a new goal. The moment you set a goal, it's coming at you.
Yeah.
How badly do you really want it?
Yeah.
That's the test.
So create that mantra so it's a quick and easy thing to put in so you'll stay on the right path and not get diverted to the negative.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have clients that will tattoo it on them. They'll get bracelets. Exactly.
That's from the divorce.
Yeah.
That's the life.
Exactly.
That's me getting through it.
Yeah. I mean, these are the kinds of things. I mean, if you can go find someone that, and I tell people, interview your therapist. We're not all the right one fit for someone.
I agree with that 100%.
Absolutely. And I tell my
100%.
clients, I will push you. Not too hard, but I'm going to push you. I'm going to give you homework. I'm going to have you do this. I'm not going to just be like, okay.
I appreciate that.
And one of the things I tell people, though, is I don't tell you what to do. What we do is we explore options.
Yeah.
And then I say, what do you think works best for you? Because I don't want to make a decision for you because, one, I'm now taking your power away.
Yeah.
I want you to be empowered to do that. But we help create the options. Then what works best for you?
Yeah.
And I tell my clients all the time, I am working hard so you never need me again. That we've created these skill sets that you're able to tap into them whenever you can, and you won't need me.
I like how you phrase that. I had somebody who I met one night at a networking meeting it doesn't matter. We got into this great conversation, and I followed up with him. and we're talking about energy healing. He has this issue going on that I know damn well that I can help him with. And I'm like, I know what I'm capable of, you know, but he has the doubts. He's been led down the holistic path before.
Yeah.
He can't get the results from the normal doctors,
Right.
you know, so he has his doubts because he's like, well, how many sessions does this take? I'm like,
Yes.
I don't have a guarantee for anything.
Yeah.
I can tell you this. Most of my clients, they don't come back because they don't need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the only ones that I'm seeing more regularly right now are the women that I'm working with hot flashes, because that's a whole bigger issue.
Yeah.
You know, way bigger. But they all vary and how frequently and everything like that and everything along those lines. But
well, working with this kind of stuff, it's not a schedule, because I'll get people like, okay, after 7 sessions, I'm good. I'm like,
okay, good luck.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't have that magic wand yet. So when it comes in the mail, I'll let you know. But we don't know what we're going to uncover sometimes. And so maybe it's only 3 sessions and you'll take the skills and run with it and be great. And sometimes it takes longer. So I don't want to prescribe. This isn't like that kind of prescription.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a layer by layer kind of thing. You know, and sometimes it could be a subtle. Sometimes it can be a bad mamma jamma.
Yeah.
Not bad in a bad way, just a heavy duty.
Yeah. Complex.
Unveiling.
And
you know?
Yeah. And then you have to mentally get ready for it.
Yeah.
The person. It's a lot.
And you know, in Ayurveda we teach that too. Like there's so many people in the US that are doing all these cleanses. And it's like, your body isn't really in the best position to be doing a cleanse right now. I'm just saying, you know? And like, because that's how Ayurveda looks at it. Like in order for somebody to go through our cleansing type treatments, we have to go back and make sure that their body is in a position to be able to withstand that cleansing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you know, you create more damage.
Wow.
And it's the same, it's all one.
Yeah.
Right? It's all one. So you start, it's like losing weight. You don't want to lose weight too fast, because now you're releasing all these toxins into the body. It's like taking your rug and going like that, and now it's going to settle somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, but we aren't taught that in the U.S.
No.
We aren't taught a lot of this stuff in the U.S. And that sucks.
Well, it's Western medicine. We want a pill for everything.
That's why I stopped working with people on a one-on-one basis. Because I was like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm so tired.
Yeah, no.
I'm
it's
tired.
the hard work. And I'll have clients, can I just get a prescription? I'm like, that's not what my goal is. I mean, there are people that do need prescriptions. I'm not saying that is not the case. That should not be the go-to.
I agree. It took me a long time, because when I was going through the MS stuff, she handed me 2 big binders and started talking about therapy. And I'm in this daze, right? Because she's diagnosing me. And I was pretty certain that I was going to go into this thinking, I even told my ex at the time, my husband at the time, like, you don't have to go with me, because she's going to tell me, because everything keeps coming back fine, right?
Yeah.
And she's handing me these 2 big binders. She's like, you can choose between your therapy. I was like, wait a minute. I don't need to lay on anybody's couch. You know? And she's like, no, that's not the therapy I'm talking about. I'm talking about therapy, daily shots. You can either feel like you have the flu all day, or you can just get like these ginormous lumps, welts, you know, that turn black and blue every time you know, 7 different shots every day. I chose the black and blue. I'm like, I can hide it. You know, I can hide it, right? It was started with shots. And then all of a sudden my prescriptions, the pills, started to grow that as well. It was a year of hell, right? Just a year of hell. And it was after that massage, after watching The Secret, I woke up the next morning. I was going through a Bell's palsy. And I like to say it was my last side effect that I was willing to take of the MS, because they were supposed to put me on steroids that following Monday. And this was Sunday when I woke up. All the pulling was gone in my face. It still looked messed up. But first time in 30 days, something changed. And I was like, oh my God. I remember getting in the mirror. There's got to be something with this natural shit, you know? And I went into my meeting that day. I quit. I quit my doctors. I quit my meds. And that's when I spent 4 hours at the grocery store reading every damn label with one hand and my phone in the other. Getting pissed off. You know, it's insane.
Knowledge is incredible.
They have in those foods. And so later on, though, during my divorce, so you fast forward 10 years, now I'm It wasn't. My marriage ended up because of domestic violence, assault of a deadly weapon. My kid heard the whole thing. He was begging. It was just absolutely horrible. Absolutely the worst outcome that I could ever imagine. And then the abuse continued because now I'm out with my kid, and now he's pulling financial abuse issues. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I was working at 3 jobs. I'm doing all this, but it sent me into a panic. You know what it does, fight or flight, you know, and I'm hysterics, and I'm going to go work one of my holistic events, and I see somebody from my school, like she's the older woman, she's one of my mentors, you know, and I'm walking up to her table, and all of a sudden, because she was like my safety. It was like a safety thing that had happened, and it just started pouring out of me, and I'm like, oh my God, where is this coming from? I never really liked the whole medication thing, but I told her, I was like, I'm to the point where I'm debating going on antidepressants. And she's like, Krista, there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
For everything. Sometimes it's, you know, the purpose of herbs is to complement the necessity of, or the outcome of a prescription. You know, it's not like, it just took me a long time to be able to accept that, because I went through all those horrible effects.
Yeah.
You know, and I never wanted to touch that shit again. And antidepressant was one of them, Lexapro, you know? And I was like, I'll never touch it. But she said that to me, and I was like, that makes sense. You know, it's they're supporting.
Yeah.
They're supporting of each other. There's a time and place.
Yes.
So don't ever discount yourself, discredit yourself, or anything along those lines. Everybody's situations are different and unique.
Yes.
And you have to do what's best for you, you know? And
listen to the intuition. That's why we have it.
Oh, which, by the way, I do have a workshop coming up this weekend, and it's literally how to feel your intuition show up in your body.
There you go.
I use this back in my bar days to win a poker tournament.
Oh.
I know, with a pair of 2s. I don't know if you know anything about poker, but pair of 2s is like the lowest of the low. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. So I kept going. I ended up taking the whole thing.
Good intuition.
They were not happy. Not happy.
I love it.
I'm going to ask you these little questions. I named it Rapid Revelations. You know, they're simple little questions. You just tell me like a yes or no, or which one would you prefer? Okay. You can hit the spin, and you can, so that way you can't say that, oh, well, that's,
I'm a
that's
little
bad
scared
one.
of this. Okay, spin.
All right. Do you wear socks to bed?
Absolutely not.
All right, spin again.
Oh, no, do not share a toothbrush. There's so many problems with that. Talk in your sleep. No.
Do you really know that you talk in your sleep?
I've had friends let me know I don't.
Okay.
Ate glue when I was a kid. Not that I remember, no.
You know what I always did with glue? I would pour it onto the skin and let it
peel
dry.
it off.
Yeah, but I didn't know how to write that in there.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
No, I
All
don't
right.
think I ate glue.
Do a couple more.
Sleep with a fan. Yes. As a woman of a specific age, yes.
Do you have the fan pointed on you?
It rotates.
Okay.
Argued with Siri. No. She just helps. Peed in a pool. Of course I have.
I was gonna say, if you say no, you're lying.
No, of course
We
I have.
all have at some point in our life.
Yes. Snort when laughing. No.
Yes. All right, we'll do one more.
And toilet paper over. You know what? I do either just because I'm lazy. I just throw it on however it is.
I'm anal. It's gotta go. No pun intended, but it's gotta go over. You know.
Yeah. No, I do it either way.
You know, I think it's more for habit.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
versus it just feels wrong if I have to go underneath.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. Are you over or are you under? I want to thank you so much for being here and joining us on Divine Chaos. Is there anything that you want to add? One last thing?
No, this was so fun. What I tell people is find what works for you and lean into it and embrace it.
Yeah, I always say, like, follow what's calling you.
Yeah,
what keeps showing up in
absolutely.
your life over and over again. There's a reason for that.
Yes,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If people want to get in touch with you, follow you, or anything like that.
Yeah, well, I have a website, www.mtdintl.com.
We'll post that in the bio for you. Don't worry.
Okay.
And at the bottom of this. So.
Okay, yeah.
Well, Gail, I appreciate you being
Well,
here.
thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
Con mucho gusto.
Yeah,
mi
mucho
amigo.
gusto.
We're practicing my Espanol. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us today on Divine Chaos, even though it's a crazy windy day. But it's a beautiful day.
Yes.
And, you know, that's what Divine Chaos is all about. We, no scripts, none of that stuff. It's just pure conversation with real people and, well, real life. And then working with it, right?
Yes.
Working with what we got. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Adios.
Ciao. We are recording. Look at that hair, man. Okay.
This is a song that I have playing when I get a facial with this French lady in Chicago. So I'm like, I haven't heard this song in so long, and I'm like, oh, the universe is telling
Speaking
me.
to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi.
I thought you looked familiar. I didn't have my glasses on. I was
All right.
I think
Gail, Sherry, nice to see
Yes,
you again.
yes,
You all
nice
right?
seeing you. Yes.
Yeah.
Pleasure
This
seeing
is the
you.
spot. It looks so beautiful.
yeah.
What a beautiful place. Yeah.
Hi.
This is my friend Rachel. She's visiting from Bahamas. This is Christa and this is Gail.
emotional neglect. Could you please join?
Well, I was just saying I do work with the NFL. I'm in the States and here, so the National Football League, I do that. Some corporations hire me, but the NFL, they have 32 teams, so they keep me pretty active. And I'm also a college professor, and then I have my own private practice. I'm a clinician as well, so I have my doctorate in that, so I do mental health.
My daughter's just signed up for her major is going to be psychology.
Ah, very good.
Psychology
Okay.
and music. She's
Ah,
a drummer, so she's
well, you can use music all the time with therapy. So yeah, that's so impressive. Good.
And so you're a college professor. What do you teach?
I teach sociology and I teach social work.
Okay, where do you teach?
Malcolm X College. It's in Chicago. Yeah.
The work you're doing is needed. Like, this is what we need.
Yeah, and it's such an honor when people come to me. I really recognize, like, they come to me and share such intimate things. What an honor.
Yeah.
You know,
They have nobody else to talk to.
Yes, but like they shared it though because it's been in there, and they finally released. It's quite lovely. Yeah, I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, I work with the body and how we store emotions in the body.
Yes.
So I help people to find those emotions that are stuck in the tissue and release them.
Yeah. Well, there's so much research now on trauma in the body and how it even alters our cellular structure and the importance of that, releasing that so you don't have a child and continue to.
Exactly, because it does get passed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like I'm healing like generations back. You know?
Yeah, I work predominantly with communities of color, and so most of my clients are African American, and we talk about that because clearly the trauma and the continued trauma, and it's only getting worse with what's happening now in the U.S. And so we're really diving into that, and like we have to find ways that you can navigate that because it will kill you, literally.
Exactly. You know?
Yeah. So thank you for the work you do. That's so impressive. Thank
And
you.
if you ever remember the book, it's Running on Empty.
Running on Empty.
You
Yeah.
really resonate there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Like
Yeah.
it says, it's just like she calls it silent. Silent something. I don't remember what it was, but she literally has a warning in the beginning of the book saying, if you are a parent and you've already raised your children, do not beat yourself up because you didn't know about this.
Yep. Okay, I wrote it down so I won't forget.
So are you like, do you have Instagram? Are you on all that stuff?
Yeah, my niece is now starting to do it for me because I'm like, I work 7 days a week. I have usually about a 60 to 80 hour week, so I don't have a lot of time. So I hire my niece. She knows how to do all that. And what would take me probably about 5 hours, she's like, do. Okay. I'm like, what the what?
What's your Instagram name?
Gail Grab. GAILGRAB.
Okay, Gail
Yeah.
Grab.
Yeah.